Today the structure of the session will be slightly different. Yesterday was also different, but what we'll do today, we'll have a general warm-up that is going to actually make us warm up the entire body from the start. Then we're going to hit our intensity piece in the middle today, a nice 8-minute AMRAP with a new movement in there as well. And then the third portion of today's session will be accessory work. And what are we going to look for then? For the pump. Let's get started. Like I said, we're going to get the entire body warmed up right at the start with 4 different movements. So let's have a look at all 4 movements, possible scaling options, and also injury options. Now, I'm going to have Fred and Cecily demo these movements for you guys. So let's first have a look at what they call plank alternating rotations. Let's have a look here. So they're both going to start off in a plank on their elbows. Perfectly done on the elbows. Now Fred is going to have a very narrow base with the feet, and Cecily's going to have a wide base with the feet here. But what I want them to do is rotate towards the right arm with the left arm coming up. There we go. Perfectly executed. They hold this for a quick second, then they rotate back down with the elbow, and then go to the other side. Now if we look closely at the feet of the 2 athletes here, is that Fred has this narrow base, and he has both feet coming on top of each other, which makes it a very tough side plank. Cecily is scaling this to a slightly easier one because she creates a broader base by having her feet slightly out, so both feet can actually press into the floor during the rotation. Perfectly done, guys. So those are scaling options as well. Now the second movement is not going to be in an elbow plank, but in a plank on long arms, and they're going to alternatively lift up their legs with a straight leg. So let's have a look at that. So they're going to start with the right leg, slowly when I tell them to. So let's lift up the right leg, boom, bring it back down. Lift up the left leg, bring it back down. Now while you guys continue here, funny enough, the more narrow the stance here, the easier it becomes. The wider the stance, the harder it becomes. So you can play around with that during the warm-up. What we're looking for is maintaining proper tension in the belly while we're lifting up the leg. So instead of lifting up the leg by arching the lower back, I want you to lift up the leg by squeezing your butt and pulling from your hamstring. Very good, guys. Now, let's have a look at our third movement. And the third movement is a basic split squat. Now, what we need for the split squat is no other objects. We're going to get in a very wide and long lunge stance here. We're going to go for hip width. And let's have a couple of things set up. I need you guys to slowly move to the bottom of the split squat and stay there for a second. Now, in this bottom, what are we looking at? We want to look at the back knee being either underneath the hip or slightly behind, and the front knee being right on top of the ankle. Upper body being nice and vertical. From here, they stand back up and they go back down on the same side. Gently touch the floor, come back up. Now, if you have old man knees, you can place something soft right underneath your knee so you can easily keep going for 10 reps. Can you guys switch sides for a couple of reps as well? So upon completion of the entire set of 10, you can go on and you can also do the other side. So play around with the width of the stance, with the length of the stance, but think about the stuff that I said about how you should position the front knee on top of the ankle, and the back knee underneath or slightly behind the hip. Now we will have a look at Cecily's scaling option here, which is going to be a staggered stance hinge pattern, which we call a deadlift in this case. But there's no object, so let's call it a hinge, right? Staggered stance means we're going to have one leg dominate, which is the right one in this case, the left leg slightly bent on top of the toes, so she's focusing on her front leg here. She's sitting back with the hips bending from the hip. She's not rounding her back whatsoever. No, she's not. She's just hinging from the hip, reaching, and that front foot is very much pressed into the heel so she can load that hamstring off properly. Perfectly done. Now, for the fourth and final movement of this warm-up, we're going to need our elastic bands. So, for the elastic band, you're going to step into the band. You're going to hold it in your hand, you're going to wrap it around so it's slightly on the back of the body with the elbow right underneath the wrist. That's what we're looking for in the start position. Good. So from there, we're going to press that thing close to the head, right to a lockout, and we're going to bring it back down. If you guys keep going for a couple of reps, I can tell you guys at home, maybe if you're practicing this as well, what you never want to do is like force that hand on the way down. You want to fight the tension when you come down, so you're working the upwards motion, but also the downwards motion of the repetition here. Right? Upon completion of the entire set of 10, that is where I want you to move to the other side, but you guys don't have to demo for me because you don't get the point here. I hope you guys get the point at home. And if you don't get the point at home, you can try it out yourself. Perfectly done. Now, let's have a look at Cecily is going to have, suddenly Cecily has an injury. Wow, that's terrible, my lady. You're going to have standing on both feet on top of the band, right? Holding both arms nice and long. And now instead of doing alternating, she's going to do 10 reps on one arm. Boom. This is a sub for the band press if you cannot press. You just do rows, 10 reps on one arm, and then you do the amount of repetitions as well on the other arm. Perfect substitution for overhead injuries. Still working the upper body here. Time to get started with the warm-up. I need you guys to get off the couch and join us in this one. We just showed you all 4 movements, scaling options, injury options, everything. Now we're going to do 1 round together, and then you guys do 3 more rounds on your own. So let's get started on this one, and we start with alternating plank rotations. So at home and here, I need you all to get into your elbows. Let's start. Onto your elbows, and we start rotating in 3, 2, 1. And go. 10 repetitions. And again, you don't have to go fast. And losing balance is never an issue. Just make sure you do it better on the next repetition. So they're trying to hold every time they go into rotation. They hold the side plank for just a quick second while they're doing these rotations. Cecily has that wider base with the feet that makes it a tiny bit easier because she has a broader base. And Fred is going for that. Let's call it the more advanced variation of the plank rotation here. Always maintain breathing patterns, guys, very important. And upon completion of the 10th rep, you go into a plank on long arms, and you're going to start off with your alternating leg lifts. So squeeze your belly, even when you pull up the leg, to fight the arch here. Let's call it fight the urge to arch. I need a t-shirt from that as well. The urge to arch. So let's keep going on this one. 10 reps in total, you're alternating the legs. You're thinking about pulling your long leg up to the ceiling. Squeeze your butt, pull from your hemis. And upon completion of the 10th rep, you stand up and you start on your split squat. So whatever leg you use forward, doesn't matter. It does not have to be fast, guys. You just want to go nice and controlled. The idea with the split squats is to load up the quads for this movement that we'll do in today's intense piece, which will be a cluster with a bag. So we got to get some quad action in the warm-up so our legs are properly loaded. So make sure the hips go straight down. There's no tilting sideways with the hips whatsoever. And upon completion of the 10th rep, you just switch sides. There we go. Solid. So a hip width stance always helps with the balance. Always a simple one to aim for. And what I actually like is that they're both holding their hands on their hips. If you're at home still doing the split squats, you might want to do that as well. You can literally pull your hips straight down and you can feel the urge of the tilting of the hips. Upon completion of the sets of 10 here, you're going to grab your band, step on the band, wrap it around, and you're going to start your 10 presses. Obviously hold it for a second in the top. We always do that in the warm-up, right? We try to hold our most important position for a quick second. You either do 2 quick seconds or 1 long second. Which is like 1, 2, or 1. Both the same here. Nice press to overhead, nice lockout. Upon completion of 10, you switch the feet. So you switch on which feet you use to stand on with the band, and then you grab the band in your other arm. You'll also do 10 reps on the other side. Guys at home, again, right, if you're doing this and you're either way ahead of us, I then recommend you to slow down, because the pacing Cecily and Fred are showing you is a perfect warm-up pacing, because it doesn't have to be fast. You want to get 4 quality rounds in here. But if you're running behind, then in that case you're doing pretty well actually. You just take some more time to get through the warm-up. That thing you can never win, right? That's the warm-up. Good guys. Alright, so that was just 1 round that we did with you guys together. You need to do 3 more rounds to total it up for 4 rounds. And then after that, we'll move on to the intense piece of the day. Continue and press pause. So, as promised, the intense portion of today's session will be the middle. So we're going to hit that right now. Before we start, let's have a look at the 2 movements that you saw pop up today. The first one, you're going to need a big bag for. Not necessarily big, but if you can, make it a bit heavier than just an empty bag. So load it up with some books or some bottles of water or whatever you have at home that you can put into the bag. And then we're going to do clusters. Cluster stands for clean into thruster. So we're going to do squat cleans with the bag, going into a thruster type of movement, and then we add some tuck jumps to the equation to make it very nice and intense, but also explosive. Let's have a look at Fred and Cecily going through the first movement first. So, for the cluster, let's get into the starting position. I'll give you guys some time to get a couple of reps in. It's going to be butt down, chest up, and then going to go to their clean and their thruster right after. They go back to the floor. And a good thing while they're going through this, if you look at it, every time they reach with the back to the floor, their arms are long, their chest stays up nice and high, and their hips drop. Dropping the hips allows the legs to take the driving factor here, and keeping your arms long, make sure that you keep a good bottom position to set up for that clean start. Going overhead means using the legs and hips to drive the motion to get the bag overhead. These are your clusters for the day. Alright, let's have a quick look at Cecily, because what she's going to do is show you guys injury options. Now the first injury option will show you what you should do with this movement if you cannot squat. Now, if you cannot squat, you can always make this into type of a power clean or a muscle clean into overhead movement. So same setup, drive, right overhead. So if she does a couple of reps, if you look at it, the only thing that changes is she does not catch this in a full squatting pattern. No, she catches it nice and high and drives it right overhead. Perfectly executed, power clean into overhead. Now let's rest for a second set. Now let's say that her issue is not the squatting, but her issue is going overhead, then yes, you will squat. So then we'll go into just squat cleans, right? You go down, chest stays up nice and high, you pull yourself under, you squat it up, and you reset. Think of this as your classic mat ball clean, but now with a bag. But saying bag clean sounds a bit more tough than saying mat ball clean. It's just my opinion though. Alright, perfectly done. Now, you guys can drop the bag. What we'll have a look at, and at home, you want to practice this as well, is we're going to do the tuck jumps. And the tuck jumps are a very nasty and explosive movement where you try to jump up and then pull your knees up towards your chest in front of the body. Okay, let's have a look at Cecily and Fred here doing a couple of reps of the tuck jump. Just get 3 reps in, guys. Boom. Good. Good, let's rest. Now instead of pulling your heels to your butt, I want you to focus on pulling your knees up to your chest, right? So Fred does 2 more tuck jumps, Cecily rests a bit. Fred 2 more tuck jumps, boom, nice and high, solid tuck jumps. Now, let's say that you have an injury, and that injury does not allow you to jump. Like we also had with jumping jacks and all other moves that involve jumping. You can go to a mountain climber, but then you double the reps. So let's give a couple of mountain climbers in here. Perfectly done here. So the front foot is now touching the floor. You can also do them with the front foot never touching the floor. The quick one. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Thank you, Cecily. Now, if the rep scheme says 3 tuck jumps, you do 6 mountain climbers. If it says 6 tuck jumps, you do 12 mountain climbers. So you double the amount of repetitions. You guys get the point here, right? It is time to get started on the intense piece of today's session. We still have accessory work after this, but let's get into our 8-minute AMRAP. You're gonna use your smartwatch timer, set it at exactly 8 minutes, and I'm gonna do the countdown. So what I need you guys to do is join us and all perform the workout at exactly the same time. That would be great. So I'm gonna have this timer set. I have Fred and Cecily ready to start on this one. We start off with 3 back clusters, then 3 tuck jumps, then 6, 6, 9, 9, 12, 12. Keep adding 3, etc., etc. We're gonna start the workout in 3, 2, 1, go town! Boom. So they start off with 3 beautiful clusters. It's always good to see weightlifting coaches do the complex movements here in the demos. That is always perfectly done. Full foot on the floor, they ditch the bag after 3. They're gonna do 3 tuck jump. This is going to jack up the heart rate big time, baby. And then straight move into the round of 6. It is a quick start in this workout, but it'll become nasty very, very, very fast. Just imagine having to do this for 12 reps and then suddenly pace will drop, and that is all good, guys. So don't get too hot out of the gates because they're just 30 seconds in and I've almost completed 6 reps of the back clusters, right? Yes. So while they move on to their 6 tuck jumps, I need you guys to keep going on this 8-minute AMRAP. So continue and press pause. We just hit our intense part in that second portion of today's session. Now it is time to hit our third part. Our third part is what we call accessory work. It's going to be 4 rounds with 1 goal, 1 simple goal, get a good pump, right? We're going to hit some upper back, we're going to hit some triceps, and we're going to hit some delts as well with this one. So let's have a look at the 3 movements that we'll need to do in order to get through this pump sesh. Right, let's have a look. So first one, you're going to need your band for. You're going to stand in the band. And at home, if you have your band ready, start with it right away and start with us right away. Once you have the band set up, you're going to place your feet in a hip width stance. I'll be slow so you guys can follow me along. You're going to have a slight knee bend. And you're going to brace your belly. And you're going to tilt from the hips. So you're going to hinge, sit back. Then you're going to squeeze your butt on the way up. Boom. On the way down, you reach back. On the way up, you squeeze your butt. You guys keep going for a couple of reps. So when you do this, guys, at home as well, I want you to make sure that your knee is not going to go over the ankle, but stays on top of the ankle. Once the knees start moving forward, the quads got loaded a bit too much and we need the hamstrings to put in a lot of work here. Squeeze your butt on the way up firmly to drive the force. Alright, good demo guys, thanks for that. If this is very hard for you, for example in the lower back, then first of all, really try to focus on using your hamstrings by bracing your belly properly and sitting back a bit more. Otherwise, try to just mimic the movement without a band, so you can learn the hinge pattern a bit better. Now, let's have a look at our second movement, which is called a double bottle loo raise. We're going to grab the bottles, and I'm going to talk about positioning of the palms, so try to bear with me guys, and maybe do it without the bottles first, nice and slowly. You're going to start in front of the body with the palms facing inward, so the palms facing each other. We're going to have long arms, and I want them to do it very slow for you guys. We're going to raise up and end up with the palms facing outwards. Good. And then we bring them all the way back in front of the body, palms facing in, and we raise back up, palms facing outwards. Beautiful, let's keep going for a couple of reps. These are our loo raises. They force internal rotation in the top position, which might be a very technical term for you guys for now, but it's a very nice shoulder exercise, good for health, good for strength as well. It actually helps you catching heavy weights overhead. Wow, who thought we could train that at home with a set of bottles, right? Now, Fred, you can rest. Let's have a look at Cecily. If you have issues with this because of it feels a bit pinchy in the top position, I just want you to go to shoulder height. Boom, it's that easy, right? Find a position that you can still do without pain and do that for the 20 repetitions that we have set in this workout. Let's set the bottles down. Let's have a look at our third movement for today. And our third movement is going to be dips. We're going to hit some chest in that rotated position, and obviously we're going to hit those big triceps again, which is always helpful to do. Now they both have an object at home. Use a couch, use a sofa, use a table, use whatever that's stable enough to use. Now Fred's going to have extended legs. Cecily's going to have bended legs. Slightly easier, slightly harder for Fred's variation. He's going to just sit his butt down close to the chair and he's going to extend back up. Boom. Focus on bending from the elbow, getting your shoulders nice and low, and then driving up. Ideally, you're going to get your shoulder about in line with the elbow before you drive it back up. And maybe your object is so low that it's hard to do, then just go with whatever you have at home. That's most important in this time right now, guys. You just want to make sure you can get the movement going. Perfectly executed dips by Fred and by Cecily. Now, lastly, we will have Cecily demo an option for you guys that you can do if this is a movement that feels very bad on the shoulder, on the chest, or on the elbows, which is going to be 10 repetitions of a curl with the band. So let's do a curl with the band. So we still hit some arms in here. Now let's focus on the arms if we can. Just gonna stand in the band, both arms at the same time. Yeah, good, good, good. Just gonna hold the band. She's gonna have her palms facing up, elbows are locked in, shoulders are pinched down. She's gonna just get palms forward, all the way to palms facing the shoulder. Rotation, here we go. Squeeze the bicep on the way up, slow the low on the way down. To conclude this session properly, we're going to hit our accessory now. I need you guys to get off the couch and join on this one with us. It is 4 rounds for max pump, right? We're going to do 1 round with you and your guys are going to tag along and then do the other 3 rounds on your own. So let's have a look. You guys ready to start? Okay, we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So 30 Band Good Mornings is our first movement. We sit back, we extend up. We're going to try to keep our belly braced throughout, and we're going to try to get our knee to stay right on top of the ankle. So not too much knee motion going forward. There we go. All 30 reps, all 30 reps. Sit back, find your hemis, squeeze your butt on the way up, make sure the knee doesn't travel forward too much. And just load up. If your lower back starts to lit up a bit, that is all good. We're doing a proper hinge here with an elastic band, so that's fine. I do want you to focus on trying to find your hamstrings as much as possible here. And really force squeezing of the butt on the way up. After they've done 30, they move on to the bottles and start doing their loo races. $50 of these a day definitely keeps the doctor away. There we go. Alright, you're going to grab your bottles. You're going to stand up. They start with the bottles in front of the body with the palms facing in. And they make a very big half circle to overhead. And then they have the palms facing out. Do 20 reps of that. The good thing what you want to try to do is when you have your palms facing out in the top is make sure your shoulders stay nice and low. So really focus on a strong chest position that you need for overhead work. Think about jerks, think about snatches, all that stuff. Good, 20 reps it is. Double bottle glue raises. You know where the name comes from? Liu Shaijun, famous weightlifter. He came up with the exercise, yes. Chinese always come up with the best exercises. And then we all copy, right? Because when there's somebody really good at it, we just do the same stuff. And then we hope to get just as good as they are. Our final movement will be the dips. So we'll do 20 of these, right? And we gotta have dips, which is just 10 reps for the two of them. So at home, if you're running way ahead, slow down a bit, because a good pump takes time, and we have the time. And if you are way ahead, slow down. Right? I think Cecily and Fred are having a perfect tempo here in all three of the movements. So really force the extension of the elbow joint on the way up to get that tricep lock out maximally. Now that was just one round for pump. I need you guys to do 3 more rounds at your own speed, so continue and press pause.